Hello, welcome to Verbling. I'm teacher Oakley, and for the next hour here on Verbling, we are going to look at essay writing. I am going to do a short presentation on writing an academic essay, maybe converse with students in the class a little bit about essay writing, and finally add some more advanced points and point out some things that you need to be doing to get a good score. For example, in the standardized academic tests such as TOEFL, IELTS, CAE, etc. Uh, we're just hi. Well, I guess we can talk. Anna Carolina, hello.
Hi,
Hi, Anna.
teacher. Hi, good
Uh,
morning.
Good morning. Good evening in my case, but
Good
hello.
evening for you.
Hi. Okay. For today, I guess we're just going to talk about it basically. All right. Uh, maybe not. You won't be writing per se, but actually talking about proper sentences to write. We'll, talk about introductions and using transitions and all that kind of thing. So there you go. Hi and hi. Welcome to the class. Also, hello to Albina. Hi, Albina.
Hello, hello. How are you today?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm always good, thank you.
Always good. Well,
Always
that's
good. It's in my nature. I'm always
okay.
happy.
All right. Okay. Well, that's great. Good for you. Okay. Plenty of room in the class if other viewers want to join us. Don't worry about if you're a little late or whatever. Just that's okay. Just come on in, jump on in anytime. Now, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do a little presentation of PowerPoint, but I'll be talking to you as we go along. So this is, not exactly a lecture. It's open-ended. So please feel free. Any points come up or you have any questions whatsoever at any time, I welcome them. So don't be shy about, interrupting me in the middle of the presentation. In other words, what? Okay. Really, Anna? The gene for happiness? Is there
Yes,
such a thing?
teacher. Yes,
Really?
there is an allele, and this allele, I couldn't understand everything clearly because it was written in English,
Mhm.
but the thalamus in their brain and people who are always happy is bigger than. And if you
Really?
really and if people um are putting cat skins, the color are different in their
Mm.
brain. People who are happy, there is one part of the brain that is colorful because of the serotonin. And people who tend to be depressed, there is no color. But
Mm.
when they start taking medication or working out, the color suddenly appear.
Ah,
There is an allele in a gene, a
okay.
short allele. Well, if you would like, I could just send you the article.
Oh, sure. Or just give me enough information to search it. That would be great. Sure.
Teacher, it was in English and I couldn't catch everything. I tried hard, but
Okay.
there were some
Well,
words that I could understand, such as reuptake, reuptake the serotonin. I couldn't understand what does it mean.
I don't understand out of context either.
Neither
Okay.
in
I'm
context we
sure.
could.
I'm sure if I just, search happiness gene, I'll be able to find it one way or the other. Anyway,
All
interesting.
right.
I don't know if it's just okay. Does this gene just mean you have extra endomorphine or what? I don't know. I'll have to read it, but I'm interested in that. Okay,
Extra,
endomorphin.
extra, no, serotonin.
Serotonin.
There were twins. They were raised separated.
Mm-hmm.
One was adopted, and they didn't know each other, and they both women were very happy, always, always, always. You
Hmm.
know,
Okay.
they could uh, how can I say could extract the fingerprint of the DNA. Eh, Teacher, how can I call?
Okay. Yeah, they could analyze the DNA. All right, that's a more
Yes.
analogous way to say it, but that's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about my English. I'm trying.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, they could sketch the fingerprint of the DNA. That's just a metaphorical way to say the same thing. That's fine. I understood you perfectly. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Sideline there. Let me welcome Rafa, and I'll start my little writing presentation here. Okay. Hi, Rafa. How are you?
Hi, sir. Good morning from my country.
Good morning. Uh, okay. Thanks, Albina. Thanks for the info. All right. Need to get back on topic here a little. I'm going to do a screen share here, and we're going to talk about essay writing a little bit. Okay, again, this is just an introduction to essay writing and fairly basic. We'll get to a few more advanced points at the end. Here we go. Any questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, here we go. Essay writing. All right, we're basically concentrating on writing the argumentative essay. In this type of essay we're discussing, the main objective is, of course, is to persuade the reader of your point of view. It is a fundamental, quite basic. You need to give reasons to support your argument. That's quite obvious. All right, well, how do we go about doing that? Okay, first, before you really get started, you need to decide whether you agree or disagree with the subject of the topic. Then you need to brainstorm. You need to come up with reasons and examples. Now, let's talk about that. Brainstorming. Let's talk about what methods we use. There is no correct answer here. Whatever works for you is the best way to brainstorm ideas before you start writing an essay. Let's talk about it a little bit. Anna, Carolina, how do you brainstorm? Some people, well, what do you do? And then I'll
Okay.
make other suggestions, but let me hear what you guys do.
Okay. I forgot the name of what I do, but I jot down the main ideas, you
Okay.
know, and sometimes I I make a chart, a kind of graphic
Okay.
with a bunch of arrows, and I select the main points. Sometimes I make a list.
Okay. You have a couple different methods.
Yes, teacher.
All right.
And sometimes I just use free writing, you know.
Yeah.
Even if it is disorganized, it doesn't matter.
That's right, because remember that's another key point. When you brainstorm your ideas to write your essay, you're not married to any of your ideas. You can drop ideas. You may have additional ideas as you start to write. It's just a starting point. That's
And there is another method. well, you ask questions like you are doing an interview, no matter if it's not a person. You ask
Ah,
questions anyway, and then you answer. You personalize the subject.
ah, okay. Okay, now that's not one that was on my list to talk about, so that's interesting. That's why I'm asking you
But
guys to contribute. That's
but
interesting.
it works, teacher.
Okay, so basically conduct an interview with yourself, more or less, or figure out what questions you would ask someone.
No,
Is that it?
for example, give me a topic at random, not a person, a topic at random to give
A,
you
a
an
topic.
example.
Okay,
Yes.
let me keep it simple. Okay. Are dogs or cats a better pet?
Okay. So I pretend that I am interviewing a dog,
Okay.
and I yes, and I and I answer as a dog, and then I pretend that I am interviewing a cat, and I answer as a cat.
Ah.
Then I I I make a comparison, and I organize it, my ideas.
Ah, okay. So,
For example, what is the most important for you? Your owners or the place that you live? Of course, the doggy would answer, my owners are the most important thing for me because I owe them everything. I feel
right.
happy when they please me. And the cat would say, the place where I live is the most important thing. I,
The
I,
cat
I enjoy being
the cat would
independent.
say, owner, what owner? I'm the owner.
Maybe if
Maybe.
they
Okay,
call
I
is
get the
living
idea.
in India,
Oh,
the cow
maybe.
would say, I am a saint.
Okay, maybe. Okay, let me ask the other students in the class. Albina, how do you go about brainstorming your ideas to write?
Yes, so in French we have the same system of writing an argumentative essay.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is in the first paragraph you write an introduction. In the second paragraph you agree with this with the topic, so you give all the examples and reasons why you agree. In
Mm-hmm.
the second paragraph you disagree with the subject, with the topic, so you have to again give reasons and examples. And in the third paragraph you're kind of backing up from the subject. You don't agree, you don't disagree, you give something alternative. I don't know how to explain it.
A more
So
subjective view.
yeah, probably you give a larger picture on the
Ah,
subject,
okay.
and then you write a conclusion. It's quite difficult because sometimes if you only agree or disagree with the subject, you kind of have to make up the reasons.
Sure.
But yeah, it's
Common.
it's the
Okay.
way it works. So yeah,
Okay.
I just think objectively, logically about all the reasons someone would agree or disagree. I make a
Uh,
list of it
a
on,
list.
on the draft. Yeah, a list on the draft, and then I use the best ideas in my essay.
Okay. All right. So listing, just as you think of reasons for agree or disagree, maybe you'd make a two-column list, for example.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Right. One agree, one disagree. That's logical. Okay. Very good. Rafa, how about yourself when you're going to brainstorm to write something, maybe an argumentative essay? How do you go about brainstorming your ideas?
For me, it's so difficult. It's very difficult to write because when I was brainstorming, I have a lot of ideas and I can't put in order properly. I've been trying different methods, as you say in your classes, in your always interesting classes, how to do the hamburger, make a conclusion at the and also another tips that you give, another teacher gives up at classes, but it's so difficult to write because I have so many ideas I can't find and
Well,
prioritize the ideas, and it's difficult for me.
okay. All right. Let me. I have a tip that may help you. Something that I do actually to help myself not be so confused about after I brainstorm ideas. Now, okay, listing is one idea. I like the interview idea. Matt, what questions would you ask somebody if you have nowhere to start? I suppose this would be a very good idea. You have no idea what direction you're going to take. Think about what questions you would ask somebody to see if they disagree or agree. Just totally free writing or free thinking, just writing down whatever comes into your brain is another method. Of course, then you have to organize it because it's going to be greatly organized. You're also going to, if you just free think, you're going to end up with a lot of ideas that are just stupid. But that's okay. I mean, that's perfectly okay. That's what brainstorming is. You know, you don't need to use everything you come up with. So it's perfectly okay. A couple other methods we didn't talk about is using thought balloons. Start with your main idea. For example, in this case, you might think, okay, I agree. I'm going to take the position that dogs are better pets, and I make a circle in the middle of the page, in a blank page, and I write dogs are better pets. Then maybe I'll make an arrow pointing to another big circle that says dogs are good, and then a circle in the opposite direction, cats are bad. Okay, so then I could have arrows and more balloons, all the reasons cats are bad, all the reasons dogs are good, sub-reasons dogs are loyal, and then maybe another arrow to a circle, something like dogs have been known to rescue people, human beings, in dangerous situations, something like that. So my balloons way far out from my main idea is probably going to consist of examples and very detailed points. So I start from the general and work my way out. Okay, that's another method. What I do, I'll tell you what I actually do. I actually like to make when I actually come to writing, it makes it very, very simple. I write an outline, but I use a big piece of paper. In case I think of other ideas for my outline later, I keep things separated. A basic outline where you use, a capital A, your first reason, and then number one, okay, a supporting example. Number two, a second supporting maybe small letter A, some detail, and I make it large so that if I don't want to use ideas, I don't have to. What I do, Rafa, regardless of what brainstorming method I use, and sometimes I do use different ones depending on what the challenge is, after I brainstorm and I just write my ideas, as I use them in my actual writing, I cross them out. Or if I decide I had an idea and I really think doesn't fit the rest of my piece, I'll cross it out. For some reason, crossing out alternatives when they're used or not going to be used helps me. It will help me to kind of organize what I want to say, and it's not confusing. The less things you have to look at, the easier it is to plan. And even if I do something like listing, I've used that method before. I can list or even free think. After you free think, here's another idea. If you're just free thinking, free writing, go back through your free writing, cross out the dumb ideas, and write 1, 2, 3, as in paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, where you're going to use them to also help yourself get organized. Lots of different methods. No method is the answer. It really works it's really up to the individual. All right, well, but either way, planning is going to help a lot. It's going to make the actual writing much faster. You're investing time to save yourself time, and also to hopefully have a more well-organized final product. Not that will be your final product. You're probably going to rewrite anyway. Okay, and the third point here, well-developed paragraph. All right, the organization is key. You really need to be using transitions and linking words, signal words and phrases to introduce basic things. Here comes my opinion. Here comes my first point, and to make it obviously patently clear that you are what kind of information you're introducing. Here comes an example. Here comes a contrasting idea. Whatever. Always. Yeah, talking about the hamburger. You've got to start each paragraph with a topic sentence which summarizes what the paragraph is about. It is possible to use other more developed structures. Sometimes when we want to really transition to a new idea, sometimes we'll plant in the middle of an essay what's called a linking paragraph, basically to talk about the previous idea, then talk about the next idea. You do this when you're linking two more disparate, more different ideas that maybe you need a little extra paragraph. But basically, okay, let's talk about the structure. The introduction, first of all. Rafa mentioned the hamburger. I'm sure I've brought that up in classes before. When I conceive of the structure of a nice academic essay, I visualize it as a hamburger, or a cheeseburger if you prefer, or any other of your favorite sandwiches. Okay, wherein this hamburger, the top bun is the introduction. The bottom bun, or really the foundation, because everything comes down to it, is your conclusion, and the middle is the meat of your argument. We actually use that idiomatic phrase in English. We talk about the meat of an essay, the meat of the important part of whatever, any kind of communication, a speech or an essay or whatever. We actually use that. We really do. Okay, so starting with our top bun, the introduction. Okay, state the topic and your opinion clearly. The topic sentence will introduce the topic, but you need to expand that main idea a little bit. You can use a rhetorical question, however, to help yourself. Now, sometimes it's a good idea. This is kind of similar to the idea about interviewing the dog and cat. You may even do this. You may use a rhetorical question to help yourself sort of get started and figure out, okay, this is the question I need to be answering. Actually, this method will work. Write that rhetorical question and refer to it, but then you may not even need it in your final essay. You may want to get rid of it. I do have to point out, for those who are going to have to write this kind of essay for an standardized academic test, and every standardized academic test I know of requires this as part of the writing portion of the test. I will tell you, this while a rhetorical question is fine for a paper for university, two things. The academic tests don't really like them. If you use one, okay, but whatever you do, don't really. For the academic test, don't use more than one. And in fact, for any writing, please don't load it up with 3, 4, 5, 6 rhetorical questions. It's not a good style. One in the opening is acceptable. If you're throwing rhetorical questions in your middle paragraphs or your supporting paragraphs, it's not a good style. You shouldn't be asking questions in the middle of your essay. Okay. Now, actually, before we go to the body, let's talk about that organization a little bit. Okay, I have to be clear here. Your introduction, all right. Now, it depends. Please be clear here on what your assignment is and what you're supposed to be doing. Because I have to say, when I teach this class, I can't help but think of these academic tests. In an IELTS exam, for example, sometimes they pretty much straightforward say, what is your opinion, and give reasons to support it. Well, okay, fine. Then fine. Please state your opinion in your introduction and talk about what is the question, what is the topic, and state your opinion. Usually you begin by stating the topic using constructions like many people believe. There is a big question if blah, blah, blah is good or that is better. Questions revolve around blah, blah, blah. This is an easy way to get into the topic. Okay. It is very controversial today whether global warming is man-made or not. Fine. There you go. You've introduced the topic. Great. Then,
Okay.
yes. Yes,
Is
Anna?
it okay to use a quote in the introduction?
Sure. If it helps you to introduce the topic, yeah. Yeah. Sure, absolutely. Albert Einstein once said, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, absolutely. If it helps you to introduce it, yeah, I am never against actually using a quote. Actually, I kind of like it.
Could you give us a tip how to link the quote to the idea? Because sometimes you think of a quote that that has to do with the topic, but we don't know how to connect it, you know?
Yeah, well, that's the difficult part, yes. If it's clear and easy and obvious to you that the quote links with the idea, then use it. If it's not clear, if it any way takes away from the clarity, well, that's a good point. You want this introduction to be crystal clear, completely unambiguous. This has got, even if you have to keep your language simple and your sentence structure simple, it doesn't really matter. Actually, that is a very good point. Yes, you can use a quote, you can use a rhetorical question, but whatever you do, this introduction has to be painfully obvious exactly what you're trying to accomplish and what you're discussing, your topic, and really the controlling idea of the topic and where you're going. Okay.
Just one more little question.
Sure.
Would it better not to use the I think, I believe, or in my opinion, right? It's better when we say it's claimed or many people believe it.
Okay, now that's what I was just going to talk about. You preempted my very next subject to talk about. Because Albina was talking about a style she said they use in France. And I'm not detracting from your style. I actually like it under some circumstances. It depends on what your assignment is. You must be very careful understanding what you're supposed to be writing about. I was mentioning in the IELTS, sometimes it will say, for example, some people think that cats make better pets. Others prefer dogs. Please state your opinion and give supporting reasons. Fine, I can go straight forward with giving my opinion. That means in my introduction, I probably, most certainly should give my opinion because they're asking for my opinion, and I should spend all my time, my supporting paragraphs supporting that opinion. If, however, sometimes, for example, in IELTS or even in TOEFL, some of these standardized tests, and in academics, some of your professors may do this to you if you're in university. They don't do it that way. That's not the question. They may say something to the effect of, okay, same introduction. Some people prefer cats, blah, blah, blah. Some others think dogs are better as a pet. to what degree do you believe in either side of this argument? All right, if they ask to what degree, or how much do you agree or disagree with both sides of the argument? Now, this type of essay, they are no longer really asking for my opinion. Well, they are, but they're asking my opinion on both sides of the question. Okay, so I'm not really being asked to argument one side of the question. I'm being asked to argue both sides of the question. This is fundamental to how you lay out your organization. You've got to understand what you're being asked to do. Okay. Are you, and why are you writing the piece? Are you writing the piece to inform people? In which case, if you're informing people about both sides of the question, then no, you should not be giving your opinion in the introduction. Okay. However, Albina, I disagree. I can't say that you normally should, you normally shouldn't. If you're being asked, for example, by a professor, please give your opinion and support your opinion. If they directly ask you to give an opinion, then yeah, you got to have your opinion in the first paragraph.
But probably in this case, if they ask you for your opinion right away,
yeah,
probably you don't write an introduction then. Like in your example with the exam, I don't remember the name. IELTS is that? Maybe in this case you don't really write an introduction. You just go straight to your opinion. No.
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 Well,
you still have to write.
Yes, you still have to write no matter what. You have to introduce, no matter what else happens. Any essay, you must introduce your topic in an introduction. That's
okay.
100%.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sure. It's just where you're trying to inform or discuss both sides of an issue. For example, you would just introduce your topics and controlling idea and say something to the effect, to introduce the next paragraph. Although there, something like there are many sides to this argument, and it is important to look at both sides of the discussion. Some kind of, bridging sentence, if you will, that will introduce the fact that you're going to discuss both. In other words, in the introduction, you're saying exactly what you're going to do. Because if you're going to give your opinion, then you need to say, I am going to give you my opinion. And if you're going to discuss both sides, then you say, I am going to discuss both sides. But of course, try to have a little better style than that. That's very blunt, but yeah. So a rhetorical question, is it better to have cats or dogs as pets? Okay, fine. You are going to, the only reason you would use a rhetorical question is because your intention is to obviously answer that rhetorical question. Okay. Now, one more thing. If your object is to inform, not argue one position, but to inform both sides of the position, argue, if you will, both sides. It's pretty easy if you're just giving your opinion. If you're asked to pick one side and go with it, pretty easy. You're going to give your opinion, reason 1 in the second paragraph, reason 2 in the third paragraph. If you have another reason 3, and a conclusion, depending on how big your hamburger wants to be. Okay, it's pretty solid, pretty basic. However, if you are required to talk about both sides of the argument, there's a couple ways to do it. The one that Albina was talking about earlier in the class, where you clearly talk about all the agree information in one paragraph, and then use some nice contrasting transitionals to introduce all the disagree in a different separate paragraph. That's the case where I was talking about a linking paragraph may be necessary between the two. Not necessary, but useful, I should say. And then kind of step back and make your conclusions as we were talking about from a more subjective viewpoint. Okay, you can do that. There's another more difficult kind of structure you can use. The introduction remains the same. However, in your body paragraphs, what you're going to do is you're going to look at the actual points that differ. Okay, cats and dogs. Paragraph 2, remembering that paragraph 1 is my introduction. Paragraph 2, dogs are just simply a lot more loyal than cats. While dogs will save you from a fire and drag your burning body from the second floor of a building, a cat will be the first one out the window when a fire breaks out. Okay, so you contrast the two in each paragraph. Okay, so you give a point, maybe 2 points about dogs. Dogs are more friendly. Okay. Okay. On one hand, blah blah blah. On the other hand, cats. Then you talk about cats in the same way, and you introduce it. Okay. Maybe this is my 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph. On one hand, on the other hand, however, much research has shown that cats can be helpful for elderly people to actually extend their lifetimes. Synthesis, yes, that's what we call it in English. Right, very good, thank you, Albina. Right, so you're going through and you're basically talking about, instead of talking about all dogs and then all cats, you're talking about each point and how dogs and cats relate to each point. That's another way to organize it. Yes, and it is called synthesis style. Yeah. Okay. Either way, the layout is basically the same. Really, any of those styles which we've talked about, we're still basically doing the same thing. Each paragraph will have a reason. Okay, fine. If we're doing the comparative, okay, comparative essay, then that's another way to say that last one I introduced. Fine, dogs are more loyal than cats, but I can't. That's not my paragraph. That can't be my whole paragraph. I have to give an example, and I tried to. I talked about a burning building or whatever. Okay, fine. If I want to just discuss dogs and then cats, I give my overall thesis in my topic sentence. I think that dogs would make better pets for most people. Simple. Again, it's got to be very, very clear. The same reason your introduction's got to be really clear. Your reason's got to be really clear. I don't care what you do with your examples or with detailed explanations for that reason. It really doesn't matter. Go crazy. Who cares? But the topic sentences of each paragraph, just like the topic paragraph of the whole piece, has to be beyond any ambiguity. You really can't. If it's ambiguous and can be interpreted in different ways, you're headed for trouble. Okay, so straightforward in that first sentence. And then basically rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. It's really the same thing. Each time you come up with a new reason or subject, you need a new paragraph. Okay, so, all right. Cats don't make good pets. All right, now give several reasons why. Okay, and then of course the conclusion. The conclusion is actually the easiest part. You're just summarizing what you said. Now, if we're being required to give information or to inform about both points of view, then it's possible to state a divided opinion. In other words, kind of be wishy-washy and instead of black or white, go gray. Okay, you know, something like, well, dogs may be better for active adults. It would seem that cats can be a better pet for elderly people or small children. Something like that. You don't have to. It all depends on what you are trying to accomplish from the very beginning. That's what has to, before you even start brainstorming, you have to know, what are you doing? What is the end result? What is the goal, the end goal? Otherwise, you could head off in the wrong direction. So it's key that you know what you're doing, first of all. If it's possible, give the reader something to consider. Okay, well, I tried. Rhetorical question in the conclusion. Oh, that's a really good question. Well, okay, now see, Albina, that's comes into this, give the reader something to consider. Okay, leave them guessing, leave them hanging. You can achieve that by using a rhetorical question. I don't know if that's what made you think of it, but that's the first thing I thought of. Hello? Okay. Bye. Got a phone call, I guess. All right. You could do that with a rhetorical question in your conclusion. I would definitely not do it if you're giving a definite opinion piece. If you are saying in your piece, in my opinion, from my perspective, in conclusion, I firmly believe, then no, a rhetorical question would be very bad here. And even if you use one, you got to be very careful. If you are taking a TOEFL or an IELTS exam, frankly, or any of these standardized academic tests, everyone that I know of highly discourages use of rhetorical questions. They don't like it. I don't really know why they don't like it. I think occasionally a rhetorical question can be good style. I don't know, but I'm just telling you, in my opinion, they do not. Okay. What they do all like, though, and what professors like, what readers like, because it keeps it nice and organized and easy, is to use these linking words. Linking words, all right, I don't care what you want to call them. Linking words, transitions, transitionals, signal words, signal phrases, discourse markers, whatever you want to call them. They live by many names, but they're the same thing. Make it obvious when you're about to give a key piece of information. All right, here's a couple examples. In my view, in my opinion, to my mind, to my way of thinking, I strongly believe that. Firmly believe is another good collocation. And you're going to want to list your points. Okay, first of all, in the first place, we tend, in English, to, when we write, we have more concise transitionals or linkers, linking words and phrases, than when we speak. When we speak, we often use redundant, repetitive. Take this example, for instance. All right, that's very redundant. When we're speaking, that's perfectly acceptable. Another important point that I really need to bring up here is the fact that, okay, I basically introduced it like 3 times. We can do that speaking, and frankly, again, pointing back at those academic tests, that is a good thing in speaking, in the speaking section. However, that's not going to win you any friends in the writing section. Introduce it once, but don't use redundancy. That's not good writing style. It's looked at as actually good speaking style, but not good writing. and we generally use more concise ones. First of all, the first reason for holding this opinion, okay, pretty concise linking words to get to your points. Not long. The first thing I should probably talk about, if I really want to give my first point, is don't do that. Long sentences like that. Not in writing. It's okay for speaking. To add more points. What is more? Furthermore, in addition, moreover, besides, examples, for instance, for example, to illustrate this. Okay, pretty basic. Just got to be using these things. Conclusion. All right. In conclusion is boring, so if you can do it another way, taking everything into consideration, that's better on the whole. Okay. All right, those are better ones. So definitely be using these linking words. Absolutely. Okay, let me I want to look at some more advanced points, so to speak, of formal writing style. Some small things which sometimes get forgotten. So, all right, I want to cover some of these. All right, some basics you don't want to do in formal writing style. Okay. Please write full form verbs. No contractions, no negative contractions. Can't, don't. In fact, basic writing, okay? Don't use contractions. Please do use them when speaking. English speakers, even in very formal speeches, go ahead, Google President Obama giving a speech, giving the State of the Union address. You will hear him use contractions in his speech. It's perfectly okay. However, formal writing, we should not be using them. Oh, by the way, I jumped over to this information. Does anybody have any last questions about the organization stuff?
No.
I'm sorry, I jumped without.
No questions, but teacher, it's a lot of information to absorb.
That's why
you know. Yes, maybe if you allow me to give you a suggestion, you could break this class in 2 classes and maybe set up a class where we could use it maybe to share a document and ask us to write something, you know.
Okay.
Maybe you could start with the introduction, and then we would have to write the introduction following your tips, or maybe we could start brainstorm, because it's too much to memorize and observe at once.
Sure. Okay, that's a good suggestion. Yes, I could do that. If that's break it into more parts. We're interactive. Yes, that's a very good point. Thank you for your suggestion.
And allow us to use it, because this way we could fix this knowledge, you know.
Sure.
Because it's been very useful, but I bet that I will forget at least half of it. It's too
and I understand what you're saying. And when I teach this, frankly, I usually teach this focused on or geared toward TOEFL or IELTS, and that's exactly what I do. So I know what you mean. I actually go really slow and let the students do the work. Frankly, to be perfectly honest, I got some new material. I wanted to try it out. You guys are my guinea pigs. I wanted to test some new material, and I have only this hour. So, okay. Anyway, it's a good suggestion. It is, definitely. And when I have to teach it for other purposes, I do stretch it out a lot more. You're right. You're getting the intro all at once class. Okay. Now, just as we should not in formal writing use contracted forms, we shouldn't use abbreviations. Don't use info or ads. Use information, advertisements. Definitely try to avoid using abbreviations. Okay. Especially for more formal writing in general, for business. This next tip is more for business than academic, but still, to some degree, in academic writing, sometimes it sounds more formal to use passive voice. Okay, sure. Okay, for example, a copy of the receipt will be forwarded to you. There's a, okay, whoops. It should be will be forwarded to you as soon as possible, instead of I will send you a copy of the receipt. So we tend to use more passive voice. You may have noticed this when you're reading like information that comes with products you buy. You may notice that it's always, at least the English part, I don't know about the part that comes in your language, but for anything, medication, computer desk you have to put together yourself, the warranty on your air conditioner, if next time you have a chance, check those things out. Check the writing out for those, okay? And try to look at the English writing. Yeah.
You were saying that we should avoid using the active voice and use the passive voice more?
I was saying specifically for business, definitely more useful, and to some degree in academic, especially if you happen to be explaining a process or procedure, then for sure.
But why? To not blame anyone? To avoid blaming someone for something?
No. No, it's just it's just definitely considered more formal. Seriously, I'm totally serious about that. Next time you get, information in a product, it doesn't matter if it's cough medicine or you buy a new air conditioner, you read the warranty. It doesn't matter what it is. You know how it comes in, Portuguese and German and French and Russian and English and Japanese, whatever. Read the English portion. I pretty much guarantee it'll all be passive writing, because it's supposed to be extremely formal. Passive writing, I don't know why it's considered more formal.
Well, beauty products are the labels of beauty products are not in passive voice.
Really?
Yes, they always say you, your head, your skin.
Oh, really?
Really?
Okay, that's interesting. I don't buy many beauty products, Anna, in case you haven't looked at me recently. I'm not very beautiful. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. I'll have to ask my wife about that. Okay. All right. All right. Intensifiers, adverbs, just to make it easier. Okay, really, and so I have no problem with extremely, highly, okay, entirely. Oh, that's what they're saying. You should use more formal intensifiers, adverbs. Very simple. Instead of very, really. All right, just avoid very and really, and you'll be fine. Phrasal verbs are great for conversation. They are very versatile and easy to use with intonation and English rhythm. However, if you are writing any kind of formal anything, business or academic, if you know a more formal verb, use that instead of the phrasal verb. Very simple. Okay. All right. Try to up grade your discourse markers. We've already talked about if you can. Now remember, you have to use them, so whatever, formal or informal, doesn't matter. The important thing is to use them. But if you can think of a more formal one and you're writing a formal paper, then obviously use it. It's all of this is kind of obvious. It's just try to use more formal vocabulary. That's it. Try to avoid colloquialisms, expressions, sayings, and idioms. Okay, Anna, you were talking about using a quote. Yeah, that's fine, but don't use some. Well, no, I was going to say you shouldn't use expressions and sayings, but you know what? Under the right circumstances, it may be appropriate. I can't say that, actually. Definitely avoid ellipsis. You can't do that in formal anything. When we leave out words, that's called ellipsis. Things like,
I don't know ellipsis.
for example, here's an example. Hope to hear from you soon. All right, see you later. That's ellipsis. I'm not saying I will see you later. Formal writing, you would write I will see you later, not see you later. That's ellipsis. I'm just dropping out. Dropping words.
Is when you don't put the subject, right?
Subject or any other words. Okay.
Okay.
What are you doing? What you doing? What you doing? I'm leaving out the word are. Hey, what you doing? All right, that's ellipsis. So it's often the subject. Doesn't have to be the subject, however. Oh, another more general point. Yes?
It was written that this class is high beginner, but it's not, teacher.
Okay, my mistake.
It's advanced or high intermediate, I guess.
Okay. I probably, yeah, okay. Okay, well, you only have to suffer for it for 2 more minutes. I'm gone. Okay. One more totally general point. When writing an essay, remember the nature of science and academia. Science does not say we know something because we're science, and neither does academia. The whole point is that people create ideas and then support them to the best of their ability. So there are no, we rarely use absolutes, like always, must, possible, impossible, even the verb to be. We use a lot of possibly, probably. This is probably the most important factor. This is possibly caused by. This may be an important factor. Okay, this type of using modals and adverbs to show that something could or could not be true is very prevalent in academic or scientific writing, both. We don't use absolutes. Nobody claims to know all the answers. All right, this is important when writing any kind of academic or anything to do with science or academic or, opinion-based writing as well. If you come across as knowing everything, it's better to discuss things using a more tentative rather than assertive style. Yeah. Okay. Another thing you can do to create a more formal feeling is use there and it as the subject. There is a serious risk of. It is very difficult to. Okay, use one as a subject. One may ask whether. Okay, here's another way of framing a rhetorical question. Okay. Instead of using rhetorical question. One, by the way, is a formal version of you. And using the passive voice. Okay, well, anyway, that is that. Thank you for your attention and your time.
Teacher,
I gotta go.
could you give me the link to go over it?
Yeah. It's in it's in the class description, the class material.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, can you get it from there? All right.
Yeah, I just have, so I think it's quite possible.
Yeah.
To
okay.
get the link. It's possible.
Great.
Okay, teacher, thank you. Please, could you go over everything again? Splitting. Because
right now? No, I'm already 2 minutes late for my next class.
no, not right now. In future classes.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you. Bye bye.